Hi everyone, welcome to Difference Frames the World, an independent channel where you can see the world differently. Today we discuss RMB internationalization, when a shipping company in Canada decided to buy Chinese ships in RMB, not US dollars. Some wonder why Canada, the closest ally of America, backstabs the United States by allowing one of its shipowners to do that. On October 28, 2024, Hudong Shipbuilding Company, a key subsidiary of China State Shipbuilding Corporation, made significant strides in the shipbuilding industry, announcing that it had signed contracts to construct 12 large container ships over the past 10 days, with the Chinese RMB as the settlement currency, instead of the commonly accepted US dollars. On that Monday, the Shanghai-based shipyard officially declared a substantial contract with China Shipbuilding Trading Company and COSCO Shipping Lines to build 6 large container ships. Each of these vessels will have a notable capacity of 13,600 TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units, underscoring the growing demands of global shipping. This landmark agreement closely followed another unusual contract made just 10 days earlier. In the middle of October 2024, Hudong secured a similar deal for 6 ships of the same type with Seaspan Corporation, a Canadian tonnage supplier. One cannot overestimate the significance of these recent contracts, as they represent some of the most substantial orders for container ships this year. Moreover, the settlement currency is RMB, not USD, which highlights the quick development of the Chinese currency within the global settlement arena and demonstrates RMB's enhanced prominence on the international stage. It signifies the rapid progress of the Chinese shipbuilding sector and the ascending importance of the Chinese currency on the world economic stage. The company's leadership asserts that adopting RMB for settlement will mitigate exchange rate risks, thereby enhancing the profitability margins for Chinese shipbuilders. This strategic approach will likely lower financing costs associated with ship construction and improve the efficiency of trade operations for shipowners, fostering a symbiotic relationship that benefits both parties. Hudong has proudly secured contracts for 21 vessels, of which the RMB-based agreements represent a remarkable sum of 15 billion yuan, approximately $2.1 billion US dollars. This milestone marks a significant advancement in RMB internationalization, further positioning it as a viable alternative currency in global trade. A Chinese veteran shipping analyst, Wu Minghua, has pointed out that payments conducted in the Chinese currency will facilitate an expansion in credit and loan opportunities between financial institutions and shipping companies. It will enable shipowners to elevate their operational performance by reducing financial burdens and offer them more flexibility as they strive to grow their fleets in response to the increasing market demands. The recent adoption of yuan for these shipbuilding transactions signals a pivotal shift, showcasing the increasing financial credibility and creditworthiness of the Chinese RMB on the global stage. The Chinese shipbuilding industry continues to maintain its upward trajectory in 2024, as corroborated by data released on October 10 from the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, which reveals substantial growth metrics. Furthermore, the Chinese official news outlet, China Central Television, reported that the country has successfully captured over 70% of global green ship orders during this period, underscoring its pivotal role in sustainable maritime development. As the Chinese shipbuilding sector is flourishing, Western countries fail to revive their shipyards for various reasons, like lack of experienced workers and excessively high operational costs. For instance, the United States has to repair their warships in South Korea. Hanwha Ocean Company, a prominent South Korean defense and shipbuilding company, announced on November 12, 2024, that it secured another important contract with the U.S. Navy. This contract involves the comprehensive maintenance, repair, and overhaul services for a 31,000-ton replenishment oiler, a vital asset in America's naval logistics. Even so, someone may ask why Canada, which always sides with the United States, dares to allow Seaspan to order Chinese ships with RMB, not USD. The US has always been harsh with countries which do not pay with US dollars. As we mentioned in previous videos, the US hanged the Iraqi dictator to death 2 decades ago because he had attempted to use the euro to replace the US dollar when selling his oil to other countries. We hardly believe the US will do something terrible to Canada, but it is still bizarre that a Canadian shipping company agrees to buy ships from China in RMB. When America's closest ally does not back the US dollar as it should, the Americans should prepare for an ongoing decline in the prominence of the US dollar as a global reserve currency. The outgoing U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen recently highlighted this reality in her congressional testimony, where she asserted that it is only natural for countries to abandon the dollar in favor of other alternatives. However, this shift is not just a natural evolution of the global economy, it is a direct consequence of the policies enacted by the Biden administration, which have actively pushed nations away from the U.S. dollar. In the past 3 years, the U.S. and its allies have imposed a series of unprecedented sanctions on Russia as a form of retribution for President Vladimir Putin's military operations in Ukraine. These sanctions were intended to isolate Russia economically and deter other nations from supporting its military actions. The U.S. even kicked some Russian banks out of the SWIFT system, which is fatal to the dollar hegemony. America's previous friends, including major economies like Brazil and Saudi Arabia, have started to alienate themselves away from the dollar and seek refuge in alliances such as BRICS and other coalitions that oppose dollar hegemony. The mass movement away from the US dollar should have prompted alarm bells in Washington, but the reality is the opposite. Instead of recognizing the potential long-term consequences of this shift, the outgoing Biden administration has been trying to escalate the weaponization of the dollar. Rather than only targeting countries for their military interventions, these new sanctions punish other nations for non-compliance with the United States' social policies and agendas. This approach drives nations away from the US dollar and leads to its diminishing stature in international finance. Such misguided strategies could have profound implications for the US economy and its global influence. Countries are increasingly looking for alternatives, like RMB, and the continued overreach of US sanctions will accelerate this trend, ultimately jeopardizing the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency. The BRICS coalition led by China has rapidly emerged as a powerful collective in the global economy, representing a remarkable share, about 20%, of total world trade, 1/4 of the global gross GDP, and encompassing nearly 50% of the world's population. This influential group, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa as its founding states, and is attracting more nations to join, has been pivotal in redefining trade relationships and dynamics on a global scale. The BRICS pay system provides an alternative to the SWIFT system, enabling its member states to do business with each other using their currencies. For instance, the Chinese RMB is a vital instrument for boosting China's international power and influence, capitalizing on its expanding economic strength. Using the US dollar as the major settlement currency will increase the financial costs for Chinese companies and put them in volatile exchange rate shocks. The Chinese government is determined to minimize its exposure to the unpredictable nature of currency markets. To achieve this, it has strategically set up offshore RMB trading centers with foreign governments, as those entities are less likely to engage in speculative currency activities. As a direct result of China's aggressive economic strategies and diplomatic efforts, the influence of the US dollar on international commerce is undergoing a significant transformation. Presently, only 40% of global trade transactions are settled in US dollars, a steep decline from 52% just a decade ago. This shift highlights an accelerating trend away from dollar reliance in international dealings, raising alarms about the currency's future as the world's predominant reserve currency. Furthermore, it is vital to emphasize that the United States accounts for 1/4 of the global GDP, suggesting that, based on economic size and stature, the dollar should only play a role in about 25% of trade transactions worldwide. Considering America's GDP is mainly composed of domestic services, the ratio of the dollar settlement globally should be even lower. A comprehensive study by currency analyst Stephen Jen has highlighted a significant decline in the US dollar's dominance among global reserves. In 2001, the dollar accounted for an impressive 73% of global reserves, establishing its stronghold in international finance. However, by 2021, this share had diminished considerably to 55%, reflecting a growing shift towards alternative currencies. The situation took a dramatic turn the following year, as its share plummeted by an alarming 8 percentage points, bringing it down to just 47%. This rapid decline underscores the changing landscape of global finance as countries increasingly explore diversification in their reserve holdings. Joe Biden's action to seize the assets of the Russian central bank, which we discussed in a previous video 2 years ago, has significantly altered the global perception of the US dollar, rendering it a potential political weapon in the hands of Washington. It has resulted in growing unease among nations, and they now view the dollar as a tool that the US can weaponize against them when they disapprove of America's policies or actions. Indonesia's president, a longtime ally of the US, explicitly referenced the sanctions imposed on Russia when delivering a public speech. He emphasized the implications of such measures and called on other countries to rethink their reliance on the dollar for international trade and finance. His remarks reflect a broader sentiment among nations increasingly wary of the dollar's unsafe position in the geopolitical landscape, urging them to move away from the dollar. Let us end the video with a question. How soon do you think the US dollar hegemony will collapse? Put your answer in the comments below so other viewers can share your insights. Thanks for watching our videos, and please subscribe to our channel if you have not done that so you will not miss our uploads every day. Like, forward and share our videos with your friends, helping DFTW become a club with 1 million subscribers shortly. Thanks again.